The asteroid field shimmered with mineral deposits as the mining vessel Cheonsa 7 continued its routine operations. Captain Tae Yang stood on the small bridge, watching the mechanical arms extract valuable ore from the floating rocks. His crew of 15 had been working in this sector for 3 weeks now, and everything had gone smoothly until now. The explosion came without warning. A piece of debris, traveling at impossible speed, tore through the ship's port side. Alarms screamed throughout the vessel as the hull breach vented atmosphere into space. Taeyang grabbed the command console to steady himself as the ship shuddered violently. "Report!" he shouted over the noise. Ji Woo, his tactical officer, worked frantically at her station. Her fingers flew across the controls as damage reports flooded her screen. "Hull breach on decks 2 and 3. Life support is failing. FTL drive is offline. We have maybe 48 hours of oxygen left, Captain." Dongman's voice crackled over the intercom from engineering. "The main reactor is stable, but I can't fix the FTL drive. Not with what we have on board. We need a repair ship or a tow." Taeyang felt his stomach tighten. They were 3 days from the nearest human outpost, even at FTL speeds. Without their faster-than-light drive, they might as well be on the other side of the galaxy. He made his decision quickly. "Jiwoo, send out a distress beacon on all frequencies. Standard protocols. Include our position, status, and crew complement." Jiwoo nodded and began transmitting. The distress signal pulsed out into space, carrying the simple message that a human vessel needed help. It was a message as old as space travel itself, one that every civilized species was supposed to honor. The crew worked through the night, sealing off damaged sections and gathering in the reinforced areas of the ship. They rationed food and water, knowing they had to make everything last. The mood was tense but not desperate. Every member of the crew knew that Earth's colonial defense network monitored all registered vessels. Help would come. It always did. 3 hours after sending the distress signal, they received their first response. Jiwoo's console beeped, and she quickly routed the incoming transmission to the main speakers. What they heard made their blood run cold. A clicking, chittering voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect galactic standard language. "Pitiful creatures from the death world Terra. You dare traverse the void with such pathetic vessels? Your distress amuses us greatly." Taeyang recognized the speech patterns. Vrelian. The insectoid species controlled a massive empire spanning dozens of star systems. They were known for their military power and their contempt for what they considered lesser species. The voice continued, dripping with mockery. "Perhaps you should have remained in your gravity well where you belong. These stars are not for primitive Doomworlders who cannot even maintain their own ships." Jiwoo's face went pale. "Captain, the transmission is coming from a Vrelian patrol ship. They're only 2 hours away from our position. They could reach us easily." More transmissions began arriving. A Krell vessel responded next, its translator making the aliens' amusement clear. The humans sent a distress call. How entertaining. These creatures crawl from their nightmare world and expect the galaxy to rescue them when their toys break. An Osean ship added its own commentary. Doomworlders in space. What were the council members thinking? Allowing them to leave their quarantine planet. This is what happens when you let dangerous primitives play with technology they don't understand. For the next hour, the crew of the Cheonsa 7 listened as various alien species intercepted their distress call and turned it into entertainment. Not one offered assistance. Not one asked about their condition or offered to help. They simply laughed and shared jokes about the stupid humans who got themselves into trouble. Taeyang's hands clenched into fists. His crew looked to him for guidance, fear evident in their eyes. They had sent out a legitimate distress call, following every protocol, and the galaxy was treating them like a joke. Jiwoo suddenly sat up straighter at her console. "Captain, I need to show you something." She brought up the distress beacon's technical data. "Our beacon doesn't just contain our position and status. It also has our authentication codes embedded in it. These codes link directly to the Colonial Defense Network." Taeyang leaned closer, studying the information. Every human vessel, no matter how small, was registered with the CDN. The system was designed so that Earth would always know when one of their ships was in trouble. The authentication codes made sure the signal was genuine and not a pirate trap. "So the CDN knows we're in trouble," Taeyang said slowly. "Yes, sir. The moment we sent that beacon, it was received by the nearest relay station. They know exactly where we are and what our situation is." Dongman's voice came through the intercom again. Captain, are you hearing these alien transmissions? They're not coming to help us. I hear them, Dongmin. Tae-yang allowed himself a small, grim smile. But they're making a critical mistake. What mistake is that, sir? They think we're alone out here. Tae-yang stood up and addressed his crew over the ship's internal communication system. Listen to me, all of you. I know you're scared. I know what we're hearing from these alien ships is frightening. But remember your training. Remember what you learned about Earth's colonial defense network. He paused, letting his words sink in. We are never alone. Every human ship in space is connected to the CDN. When we sent that distress beacon, we didn't just call for help. We called home, and Earth never leaves its people behind. Jiwoo was monitoring the alien transmissions. Captain, they're sharing our distress call across military channels. It's spreading to multiple species. They're treating it like entertainment. Let them laugh, Tae-yang said quietly. They'll learn soon enough what it means to mock a distress call from Earth. The crew settled in to wait. They conserved oxygen, kept warm in the functioning sections of the ship, and tried to maintain hope. The alien transmissions continued periodically, each one more mocking than the last. The Vrelian commander, who called himself High Commander Thexnor, seemed particularly amused by the situation. These Doomworlders, Thexnor broadcast on an open channel, they survived their planet by sheer luck, and now they think they can survive in our space. Natural selection will correct this error. Through it all, Tae-yang remained calm. He had served in the Colonial Defense Network before becoming a mining captain. He knew the protocols. He knew the response procedures. Most importantly, he knew the unofficial human creed that every CDN officer lived by. No one gets left behind. In the command chair, Tae-yang checked the chronometer. Their distress beacon had been active for 6 hours now. The nearest CDN relay station was 3 systems away. He did the math in his head, calculating response times and fleet deployment procedures. Jiwoo, he said softly. How long until the oxygen situation becomes critical? 42 hours, Captain. And how long would it take for a CDN fleet to reach us from the relay station? Jiwoo checked her calculations. If they left immediately and pushed their engines hard. About 18 hours, sir. Tae-yang nodded. The timeline worked. It would work. It had to work. Outside the damaged ship, the alien vessels continued their patrol routes, secure in their superiority and amused by the dying humans. They had no idea what was coming. They had mistaken human patience for weakness and human peaceful intentions for inability to fight. It was a mistake they would never forget. 20 years before the Cheonsa 7 sent its distress call, humanity made first contact with the galactic community. It was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment, the day Earth joined the stars. Instead, it became the day the galaxy learned to fear the Doomworlders. The Galactic Council met on Nexus Station, a massive diplomatic hub where hundreds of species conducted business and maintained peace. Ambassador Hae-jin represented Earth at that first historic meeting. She walked into the council chambers wearing her best diplomatic uniform, carrying humanity's hopes for friendship and cooperation among the stars. What she found was horror. The council members reacted to the data about Earth with shock and disbelief. One representative, a floating gas being from the Meloran species, spoke first. Your planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. Such worlds are considered uninhabitable. How did your species evolve there? Hae-jin tried to explain, but the more she spoke, the worse it became. Earth's gravity was nearly twice what most spacefaring species considered normal. The planet's weather patterns included hurricanes, tornadoes, and temperature swings that would kill most aliens within hours. Tectonic activity constantly reshaped the surface, causing earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, and the life forms that shared Earth with humans were terrifying. You have predators that hunt in packs, another council member said, its tentacles quivering with fear. Your oceans contain creatures larger than our ships. Your microscopic life can kill within days. How did you survive? Hae-jin stood tall. We adapted. We learned. We became stronger. The medical data about humans shocked the council even more. Human bodies contained redundant organs, backup systems that could keep them alive even after catastrophic damage. Their bones could support massive weight and heal from breaks. Their immune systems fought off diseases that would devastate other species. They could eat foods that were poisonous to most galactic citizens and consume toxins like alcohol for recreation. One council member pulled up data about human endurance. It says here that humans can run for days without stopping, that they can track prey across vast distances simply by following it until it collapses from exhaustion. This is predator behavior. We call it persistence hunting, Jin said. Yes, humans are predators, but we're also capable of great compassion and cooperation. The council wasn't convinced. They studied humanity's history and found endless wars, conflicts that spanned continents and killed millions. They saw weapons of incredible destructive power, violence on scales that most species couldn't comprehend. Earth's history was written in blood. A senior council member representing one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy made a proposal. These creatures are dangerous. They evolved on a nightmare world and developed into efficient killers. I propose we quarantine them on their planet for the safety of the galactic community. The debate that followed lasted for 3 days. Jin argued passionately for humanity's right to join the stars. She showed examples of human art, music, literature, and philosophy. She spoke about humanity's capacity for love, sacrifice, and heroism. She begged the council to see past the violence and recognize the potential for peace. The final vote was close. The quarantine proposal failed by only 3 votes. Humanity was granted permission to join the galactic community, but restrictions were placed on their expansion. They could establish colonies only on worlds too harsh for other species. They could not build large military fleets. They were to be monitored constantly. Most importantly, they were labeled as Doomworlders, a term that carried implications of danger and primitiveness. Most alien species refused to trade with humans or allow them into their territory. Humanity was technically part of the galactic community but treated as outsiders. Jin returned to Earth both triumphant and disappointed. Humanity had won the right to explore space but at the cost of galactic friendship. The Doomworlder label followed humans everywhere they went. Despite the prejudice, humans quietly expanded into space. They established mining colonies on planets with crushing gravity that would kill most aliens. They built research stations in radiation zones that required heavy shielding for other species, but only light protection for humans. They took the jobs and territories that no one else wanted, and they built the colonial defense network. The CDN wasn't designed for conquest or aggression. It was built on a simple principle: protect humanity's people wherever they might be. Every human vessel, from massive colony ships to tiny mining craft like the Cheonsa 7, was registered with the network. Relay stations throughout human space monitored all ships constantly. The unofficial creed of the CDN became known throughout human space. No one gets left behind. It wasn't just a motto. It was a promise backed by action. There were stories whispered among human spacers and occasionally picked up by alien intelligence services. Stories about rescue missions that crossed hostile territory, about CDN ships that fought through pirate ambushes to save a single mining vessel, about fleets that deployed to protect civilian ships from natural disasters. The aliens paid little attention to these stories. Why would they? Humans were Doomworlders, primitives playing at civilization. Their small military forces and scattered colonies posed no threat to the established powers. Let them rescue each other in the dark corners of space. It was beneath the notice of truly advanced civilizations. This attitude persisted for 2 decades. Humanity grew slowly, establishing footholds on worlds others considered worthless. They traded among themselves mostly, building an economy based on extracting resources from hostile environments. Young humans grew up knowing they were feared and dismissed by the galaxy, but they also grew up knowing that other humans would always help them. In CDN academies, officers studied tactics and strategy. They learned to maintain their ships and train their crews. But most importantly, they learned about duty and loyalty. The instructors hammered home the same message in every class. Your fellow humans depend on you. When they call for help, you answer. Always. Back on Nexus Station, now 20 years after that first contact meeting, Ambassador Jin maintained Earth's diplomatic presence. She attended council meetings, negotiated trade agreements, and fought against the prejudice that still followed her people. She had grown older. Her hair now streaked with gray, but her determination never wavered. She noticed changes in the galaxy's attitude, small shifts that gave her hope. Some younger alien species showed curiosity about humans. A few trade agreements were signed. Humans earned reputations as reliable workers in hostile environments. It was progress, slow but steady. 3 systems away from the dying Cheonsa 7, at a CDN relay station, Officer Bora sat at her monitoring console. She was young for her position, only 25, but she took her duties seriously. The relay station's job was simple: monitor all registered human vessels in the sector and coordinate responses to any emergencies. When the Cheonsa 7's distress beacon reached the relay station, Bora immediately recognized the authentication codes. She pulled up the ship's registry: 15 crew members, currently on a mining operation in the Outer Rim. The beacon indicated catastrophic damage and life support failure. Then the alien transmissions started coming through. Bora listened to the Vrelian commander's mocking words with growing anger. More aliens joined in, turning a legitimate distress call into entertainment. They were laughing at dying humans. Bora's hands shook as she typed out the emergency protocol. She escalated the situation directly to Fleet Command, bypassing the normal channels. The message she sent was marked urgent and included all the alien transmissions. At Fleet Command, Admiral Sung Ho received Bora's message within minutes. He was a veteran of the CDN, having served for 30 years. He had gray hair and deep lines on his face, earned from decades of watching over humanity's scattered children in space. He listened to the alien mockery once. That was enough. Sung Ho stood up from his desk and walked to the Fleet Operations Center. His staff looked up as he entered, recognizing the expression on his face. They had seen it before, though rarely. It was the look of a man who had made a decision and would not be moved. "Mobilize the Third Fleet," Sung Ho said quietly. "Every ship we have. Full combat deployment." His operations officer, Captain Young Soo, didn't question the order. "Time frame, sir?" 1 hour. I want us in space and jumping to FTL in 1 hour." The operations center exploded into activity. The flagship Indomitable dominated the military dock, its massive hull bristling with weapons and armor plating. Unlike the sleek vessels favored by other species, human warships were built for one purpose: to survive and fight in conditions that would destroy anything else. The Indomitable was over 1 kilometer long, with redundant systems throughout and armor thick enough to withstand direct hits from most weapons in the galaxy. Admiral Sung Ho stood on the bridge as his crew rushed to prepare for immediate deployment. Around him, officers worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. Captain Young-soo coordinated with the other ships in the fleet, while Commander Mi-sun pulled up intelligence data on the sector where the Cheonsa 7 was stranded. "Sir, we have 47 ships in the Third Fleet," Young-soo reported. 3 heavy cruisers, including the Indomitable, 12 destroyers, 18 frigates, and 14 corvettes. "All vessels are reporting ready for combat deployment within the hour." Sung Ho nodded. 47 warships was massive overkill for a simple rescue operation, but this wasn't about the rescue anymore. This was about sending a message that the galaxy would understand. Mi-sun brought up tactical displays showing the alien vessels in the Cheonsa 7's vicinity. "Intelligence shows at least 7 alien military ships in the area. 2 Vrelian warships, 3 Krell patrol vessels, and 2 Osean scouts. None of them have made any move to assist our people." "Have they made any hostile moves toward the Cheonsa 7? Sung Ho asked. "No, sir. They're maintaining observation distance. They're just watching and broadcasting mockery on open channels." Young-soo pulled up the latest transmission from the Vrelian commander. "Sir, this High Commander Thexnor seems to be the ringleader. He's been sharing the human distress call across multiple species military networks. He's treating our people's suffering as entertainment." Sung Ho's jaw tightened. In his 30 years of service, he had seen many things. He had fought pirates who preyed on civilian ships. He had negotiated with hostile aliens who refused to allow humans through their space. He had lost friends and crew members to accidents and attacks. But this was different. This was deliberate cruelty, the kind that demanded a response. "Send a message to all ships in the fleet," Sung Ho said. "We are deploying to rescue the Cheonsa 7 and to demonstrate to the galaxy that mockery of human distress calls will not be tolerated. All vessels are to prepare for possible combat. Rules of engagement are defensive, but if fired upon, they have authorization to respond with full force." Throughout the fleet, thousands of crew members prepared for deployment. In the fighter bays of the Indomitable, pilot Kyung-mi ran through her pre-flight checklist. She was 28 years old and had been flying fighters for 6 years. She loved the freedom of space combat, the way her fighter responded to her commands like an extension of her own body. Her wingman, pilot Jin Ho, came over the communications channel. "Think we'll see action?" "I hope not," Kyung-mi replied honestly. "But if those aliens are stupid enough to shoot at us, they'll learn why you don't mess with human fighters." Human fighters were small, fast, and incredibly maneuverable. Where other species relied on shields and long-range weapons, human pilots got in close and used their speed and reflexes to devastating effect. Kyung-mi and her squadron had trained for years to work together as a seamless unit. In the Marine Bay, Sergeant Woo Jin briefed his unit on the deployment. 40 Marines sat before him, all wearing powered armor that enhanced their already formidable strength. The armor was painted matte black, designed to be intimidating as much as functional. "Listen up," Woo Jin said. "We're going in to rescue 15 of our people and teach some aliens about respect. If we need to board any hostile vessels, we do it by the book. Secure all hostiles, no casualties unless absolutely necessary. But make sure they understand that humans in powered armor are not to be trifled with." The Marines checked their weapons and equipment. They were ready for anything, from rescue operations to full combat. Each one of them had volunteered for the CDN, knowing that they might be called upon to put themselves in danger to protect other humans. In the medical bay, Dr. Da-un prepared for possible casualties. She was the Indomitable's chief medical officer, responsible for the health of the 3,000 crew members aboard the flagship. She had trauma teams on standby and had coordinated with the other ships in the fleet to ensure medical resources were properly distributed. Da-un knew that humans healed remarkably well compared to most species, but she also knew that space combat could inflict terrible injuries. She prayed they wouldn't be needed, but she was prepared either way. Wing Commander Jae-won coordinated with the fighter squadrons across the fleet. In total, they had 3 full squadrons ready to deploy nearly 150 fighters. It was an overwhelming force, one that could handle anything the alien vessels might throw at them. "All squadrons report ready," Jae-won told Admiral Sung-ho. "We can launch on your command." Sung-ho looked at the chronometer. 53 minutes had passed since he gave the order to mobilize. Every ship in the Third Fleet was ready to jump to FTL. It was an impressive display of efficiency and coordination. "All ships, this is Admiral Sung-ho. We jump in 5 minutes. Our mission is simple. Rescue our people and show the galaxy that humanity protects its own. Everyone stays sharp. Everyone comes home." Sung-ho out. The 5 minutes passed in tense silence. Throughout the fleet, thousands of humans prepared themselves mentally for what was coming. Some prayed to gods their ancestors had worshipped on Earth. Some thought of family and loved ones. Some simply focused on their duties, letting training and discipline carry them forward. On the Indomitable's bridge, Commander Mi-sun received a priority message from Nexus Station. "Sir, the Galactic Council's monitoring stations have detected our fleet mobilization. They're asking about our intentions." "Tell them we're conducting a rescue operation," Sung-ho replied. "Nothing more. They're requesting we stand down and allow them to coordinate with the local species to render assistance." Sung-ho's laugh was bitter. The local species have had hours to render assistance. They chose mockery instead. "Tell the Council we're proceeding with our mission. If they have concerns, they can file a formal complaint after we've saved our people." The chronometer reached 0. "All ships, execute jump," Sung-ho commanded. 47 human warships activated their FTL drives simultaneously. The energy signature was massive, visible across multiple sectors. It was the largest single-fleet movement humanity had made in 20 years of spacefaring. The jump would take 18 hours, time that seemed to stretch forever for the crews. There was nothing to do but wait and prepare. Sung-ho spent the time reviewing tactical scenarios with Young-soo, planning for every possible outcome. The alien ships have a numerical advantage if you count all 7 vessels as a unified force, Young-soo said. "But our intelligence suggests they're from different species with different command structures. They won't coordinate well. Don't underestimate them," Sung-ho warned. "Overconfidence has killed more soldiers than enemy fire." Mi-sun monitored communications throughout the jump. The galaxy was reacting to humanity's fleet movement with shock and confusion. Diplomatic channels lit up with queries and demands for explanations. The Vrelian Empire sent a strongly worded message demanding humanity stand down. "The Vrelians are threatening military action if we enter what they claim is their sovereign space," Mi-sun reported. "The Cheonsa 7 is in unclaimed territory," Sung-ho replied. "They have no jurisdiction." If they want to make threats, they'd better be prepared to back them up. As the hours passed, word spread throughout the galaxy about what was happening. Humans had mobilized a major fleet in response to a single distress call. The species that had dismissed them as primitive Doomworlders were suddenly reassessing their assumptions. On Nexus Station, Ambassador He-Jin was pulled from sleep by urgent messages. She read the reports about the fleet deployment and the situation with the HFY 7. A smile crossed her face despite the seriousness of the situation. For 20 years she had warned the Council not to underestimate humanity. Now they were about to learn that lesson firsthand. Aboard the dying HFY 7, Captain Tae Yang watched the chronometer count down their remaining oxygen. They were down to 30 hours now. The crew remained calm but quiet, conserving energy and air. They had heard nothing from the alien vessels since the last mocking transmission 6 hours ago. Jiwoo was monitoring their distress beacon when she detected something. "Captain, I'm picking up massive FTL signatures heading our direction. Multiple ships moving fast. Can you identify them?" "Not yet, but the signature patterns are human." "It's a CDN fleet, sir. A big one." Hope surged through the crew of the HFY 7. Tae Yang allowed himself to smile. "How long until they arrive?" "Based on current speed, 12 hours, Captain. 12 hours. They would make it." Tae Yang addressed his crew over the intercom. "Everyone listen. Help is coming. 12 hours and we're going home. Stay strong just a little longer." 3 systems away, High Commander Thexanor received urgent reports from his sensor operators. "Commander, we're detecting a massive fleet approaching our position. 47 vessels, all human." Thexanor's confidence faltered. 47 ships? The moment came without warning. One instant, space was empty except for the alien vessels watching the dying HFY 7. The next instant, 47 human warships dropped out of FTL in perfect formation, surrounding the entire area in a tactical sphere that left no escape routes. The Indomitable materialized directly between the Vrelian flagship and the HFY 7, its massive bulk dwarfing both vessels. Around it, destroyers and frigates took up positions with military precision. Within seconds, every alien vessel found itself facing multiple human warships with weapons powered and targeting systems locked. On the Indomitable's bridge, Admiral Sung-ho stood calmly as the tactical display updated. Young-soo confirmed what they already knew. "All ships in position, sir. All alien vessels are covered. No escape vectors available to them. Open all channels," Sung-ho commanded. "Let everyone hear this." Misun activated the communication system, broadcasting on every frequency used by spacefaring species. When Sung-ho spoke, his voice carried across the void to every vessel in the area. "This is Admiral Sung-ho of the Earth Colonial Defense Network. You have ignored a legitimate distress call from a human vessel. You have mocked our people as they fought for survival. You have violated the most basic law of space travel, the obligation to render assistance to those in distress. You will now render assistance immediately, or you will face the consequences." High Commander Thexanor stared at his tactical display in growing horror. His flagship was surrounded by 3 human destroyers, each one targeting his ship's critical systems with terrifying precision. Throughout his bridge, his crew chittered nervously, their usual confidence shattered. He opened a channel to the human admiral, trying to salvage the situation. "Admiral Sung-ho, there has been a misunderstanding. We were merely testing your resolve, ensuring that your distress was genuine. We had every intention of providing assistance." On the Indomitable's bridge, Misun shook her head. "He's lying, sir. Our analysis of their movements shows they never made any attempt to approach the HFY 7. They maintained observation distance the entire time." Young-soo added his assessment. "All alien vessels were positioned to watch, not to help." "This was deliberate, sir." Sung-ho's response was broadcast on all channels, letting every alien vessel hear his words. "You mistook our kindness for weakness. You mistook our peaceful intentions for inability. We are the children of Earth, a world that has tried to kill us since before we discovered fire. We have survived ice ages and volcanoes, plagues and predators. We have fought through disasters that would have destroyed any other species." He paused, his voice dropping to something colder and more dangerous. "You mocked 15 humans dying in the void. Those 15 humans are our brothers and sisters. We do not abandon our own. We do not forget insults to our people, and we do not tolerate those who would watch our people die while laughing." The Krell commander tried to flee. His patrol vessel broke formation, engines flaring as it attempted to run. It made it less than 500 kilometers before 3 human destroyers cut off its path. The Krell vessel found itself trapped, unable to maneuver without colliding with human ships. Return to your position. Sung-Ho broadcast. The next vessel that attempts to flee will be fired upon. The Krell ship reluctantly returned to its position, its commander's transmission full of protests about human aggression and violations of space law. Wing Commander Jae-Won's voice came over the command channel. Admiral, squadrons are ready to launch on your order. Launch squadrons 1 and 2. Show them what human pilots can do. 2 fighter squadrons, 48 fighters in total, launched from the carrier vessels in the human fleet. They moved with incredible speed and precision, executing maneuvers that would be impossible for most species. The human pilots had trained for thousands of hours, developing reflexes and coordination that bordered on telepathic. Pilot Kyung-mi led her squadron in a high-speed pass around the Vrelian flagship. Her fighter screamed through space at velocities that pushed even human tolerance for acceleration. She brought her craft within meters of the Vrelian hull, close enough that her fighter's sensor wash caused the enemy's shields to fluctuate and spark. This is Alpha Leader, Kyung-mi broadcast to her squadron. Let's show them what human pilots look like when we're just warming up. The fighters danced through space in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully choreographed. They wove between the alien vessels, demonstrating speed and agility that shocked the watching aliens. Each maneuver sent a clear message. If shooting started, the human fighters would dominate any engagement. On the Vrelian flagship, Thexnor watched the human fighters with growing dread. His own fighter craft couldn't match half that speed, and his pilots would never attempt the maneuvers these humans executed with casual confidence. If combat began, his forces would be slaughtered. Admiral Sung-Ho allowed the fighter demonstration to continue for 5 minutes before recalling them. All squadrons returned to formation. Maintain combat readiness. The fighters pulled back, taking up defensive positions around the fleet. The message had been delivered. Human forces were ready, willing, and capable of devastating any opposition. Young Su brought up the weapons status on the tactical display. Sir, all heavy cruisers have their main railguns powered up. We have targeting solutions locked on every alien vessel. The main railguns on human warships were devastating weapons. Unlike energy weapons that relied on shields and could be partially deflected, railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible velocities. The kinetic impact alone could punch through most armor and shields in the galaxy. Sung-Ho activated the communications again. All alien vessels, be advised. Every one of your ships has multiple targeting solutions locked on it. Our weapons are powered and ready. If any vessel makes a hostile move, we will respond with overwhelming force. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and submit to our authority. The 30 seconds stretched out like hours. On the ASEAN scout ships, commanders argued frantically about what to do. On the Krell vessels, tactical officers calculated their chances of fighting their way out and came up with 0. And on the Vrelian flagship, High Commander Thexnor faced the hardest decision of his military career. With 10 seconds remaining, the ASEAN scouts powered down their weapons. The Krell vessels followed 5 seconds later. Thexnor held out until the final second, his pride warring with survival instinct. Finally, humiliated, he gave the order to power down. All alien vessels have ceased hostile systems. Sir, Young-Su reported. Good. Now let's get our people. Sung-Ho switched channels to the specialized rescue corvette Mercy. Captain Yoon-ji, you are clear to approach the Cheonsa 7. Secure our crew and bring them home. The Mercy moved forward, its smaller size allowing it to maneuver easily through the formation. Captain Yoon-ji commanded a crew of rescue specialists, people trained to extract survivors from damaged vessels and provide immediate medical care. Rescue specialist Hyunwoo prepared the docking equipment, while medical technician Sumin readied emergency medical supplies. They had drilled for this scenario hundreds of times, but it never stopped being urgent when real lives hung in the balance. The Mercy matched velocity with the damaged Cheonsa 7 and extended its docking collar. Yoon-ji worked the controls with steady hands, connecting the two vessels with barely a vibration. The seal locked with a solid thunk. We're attached, Yoon-ji reported. Opening the airlock now. Hyunwoo was the first through, moving quickly but carefully into the damaged mining vessel. The interior was cold, so cold he could see his breath. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. He found the crew huddled in the reinforced cargo bay, wrapped in thermal blankets and breathing shallowly in the thin air. Colonial Defense Network Rescue Team, Hyunwoo called out. We're here to take you home. Captain Tae-yang looked up, his face pale but breaking into a smile of pure relief. Took you long enough, he managed to joke, his voice weak. Soo-min rushed forward with her medical scanner, checking each crew member quickly. Most were suffering from hypothermia and oxygen deprivation, but all were alive. All 15 would survive. Can you walk? Hyunwoo asked Tae-yang. Maybe. Probably. I'll crawl if I have to. Tae-yang struggled to his feet with help. Around him, his crew did the same, supporting each other as they moved toward the docking collar. Ji-woo, the tactical officer, was crying as Soo-min checked her vital signs. I knew you'd come. I told everyone you'd come. Of course we came, Soo-min said gently. We're human. We take care of our own. One by one, the crew of the Cheonsa 7 moved through the docking collar into the warm, oxygen-rich environment of the Mercy. Medical teams immediately began treatment for hypothermia and oxygen deprivation. Within minutes, all 15 crew members were safe. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Sung-ho received the confirmation. Sir, all crew from the Cheonsa 7 are aboard the Mercy and receiving medical treatment. Dr. Da-eun reports all will make full recoveries. Sung-ho felt tension he hadn't known he was carrying drain away. The rescue was successful. Their people were safe. Now came the harder part. He activated communications to all alien vessels. Your governments will be contacted regarding your actions here today. You will follow this fleet to the nearest neutral station. The journey to Nexus Station took 3 days. The human fleet maintained tight formation around the 7 captured alien vessels, leaving no room for escape or treachery. Inside the Mercy, Dr. Da-eun supervised the recovery of the Cheonsa 7's crew. Within 24 hours, all 15 showed remarkable improvement, their bodies healing with the resilience that had earned humans their Doomworlder reputation. Captain Tae-yang insisted on visiting the Indomitable's bridge as soon as he could walk. Admiral Sung-ho received him in his ready room, offering him hot tea and a comfortable chair. Tae-yang's hands shook slightly as he held the cup, but his eyes were clear. Thank you, Tae-yang said simply, for coming for us, for bringing a fleet when anyone else would have sent a single rescue ship. Sung-ho shook his head. We didn't come just to rescue you, Captain. We came to teach the galaxy a lesson it should have learned long ago. Humans protect their own, always. Those aliens really didn't think we'd respond like this, did they? No, they didn't. They made the mistake of thinking our peaceful nature meant we couldn't fight. They confused patience with weakness. Sung-ho looked out the viewport at the stars. They won't make that mistake again. News of the incident spread throughout the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. On hundreds of worlds, diplomatic channels buzzed with activity. The story of the human fleet's response became the subject of intense debate. Ambassador Hye-jin, preparing for the emergency Galactic Council session, allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. For 20 years she had warned the Council that humanity deserved respect. For 20 years they had dismissed her people as primitive Doomworlders. Now the galaxy was learning what happened when you pushed humans too far. Throughout the human fleet, crew members processed what they had accomplished. Pilot Kyung-mi and her squadron mates gathered in the ready room, reviewing footage of their demonstration flight around the alien vessels. Did you see how their ships reacted? Jin-ho laughed. Their targeting systems couldn't keep up with our speed at all. We could have danced circles around them all day. Kyung-mi felt pride but also uncertainty. We scared them. Really scared them. Is that what we wanted? Squadron leader Tae-kyung, older and more experienced, answered thoughtfully. We wanted respect. Fear is what they gave us with their mockery. Now they understand we're not helpless. Maybe next time someone in trouble will actually get help instead of laughter. In the Marine Bay, Sergeant Woo Jin conducted equipment maintenance with his unit. They hadn't needed to board any hostile vessels, but the possibility had been real. The Marines talked among themselves about what the deployment meant. Think the aliens will spread stories about human soldiers? One Marine asked. Woo Jin nodded. They saw us in our armor, saw how we moved and operated. They'll tell their people that human Marines are not to be challenged. That's not pride talking. That's tactical reality. If they respect our strength, maybe fewer situations will escalate to violence. Aboard the Vrelian flagship, High Commander Thexnor sat in his quarters, contemplating his ruined career. He had served the Vrelian Empire for 30 years, rising through the ranks through skill and ruthlessness. Now he faced court-martial and disgrace because he had underestimated a species the galaxy dismissed as primitives. His second officer entered tentatively. "Commander, a message from the Vrelian High Command. You are relieved of duty pending investigation. When we reach Nexus Station, you will be taken into custody." Thexnor accepted the news without emotion. He had known it was coming. "Tell me something. In your assessment, could we have fought the human fleet and survived?" The second officer hesitated before answering honestly. "No, Commander. Their tactical positioning was perfect. Their weapons technology exceeded our expectations, and their fighters moved with skill our pilots couldn't match. If fighting had started, we would have been destroyed in minutes. That's what I thought." Thexnor looked out at the human warships surrounding his vessel. "We always knew Earth was a death world. We knew humans evolved in conditions that would kill most species. But we never considered what that meant for their military capabilities. We made assumptions based on their peaceful behavior and paid the price for our arrogance." The 3-day journey passed without incident. The human fleet maintained constant vigilance, but the alien vessels made no attempts to escape or resist. They had learned their lesson about challenging human determination. On the 3rd day, Nexus Station appeared on the horizon. The massive diplomatic hub was easily visible, its lights blazing against the darkness of space. Dozens of ships from various species surrounded it, and the human fleet's arrival caused immediate stir. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session, the first in 5 years. Representatives from over 60 species gathered in the main council chamber, with hundreds more watching via communication links. The chamber was a vast circular room with seating arranged in rising tiers, allowing all representatives to see and be seen. Ambassador He Jin entered the chamber wearing formal diplomatic robes. She felt the weight of thousands of eyes upon her, alien gazes ranging from curious to hostile. She took her place in the human delegation area and waited for the session to begin. The council chair, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline matrix, called the assembly to order. "We gather to address the incident involving the human vessel Cheonsa 7 and the response by the Earth Colonial Defense Network. The Council has reviewed all communications and sensor data related to these events. Evidence was presented to the Assembly. The Cheonsa 7's distress call authenticated and legitimate. The recordings of alien vessels receiving the call and responding with mockery instead of assistance. The massive human fleet deployment. The standoff and eventual capture of the alien vessels. The conservative faction argued that humanity had overreacted, deploying excessive force in response to what they claimed was merely poor judgment by individual commanders. A Melaran representative stated, "The humans brought 47 warships to rescue 15 people. This displays dangerous militaristic tendencies that threaten galactic peace." The progressive faction countered that the human response, while dramatic, was justified under interstellar law. An Andorian diplomat noted, "The Distress Call Convention, which every species here has signed, requires all vessels to render assistance to those in distress. These aliens did not merely fail to help. They actively mocked the dying. The human response was appropriate. Debate raged for hours. Species aligned with the Vrelian Empire defended Thexnor's actions, claiming cultural differences justified his response. Others argued that mockery of distress calls threatened the foundation of space travel safety. Finally, Ambassador Hyojin was given permission to address the assembly. She stood and walked to the central platform, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. "You call us Doomworlders," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "You fear our strength, our resilience, our refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. Yes, we come from a harsh world. Yes, we are dangerous when threatened. But we are also loyal, compassionate, and protective of our own." She paused, making eye contact with representatives throughout the chamber. "For 20 years, we have sought peaceful cooperation with the galactic community. We have followed your laws, respected your boundaries, and asked only for fair treatment in return. What we received was contempt and mockery. When the Cheonsa 7 sent their distress call, they did so in accordance with interstellar law. They expected help, as is their right under conventions every species here has signed. Instead, they received laughter. They were dying, and you made it entertainment." Her voice hardened. "Admiral Sung Ho brought 47 ships not because 15 humans are worth 47 ships. He brought 47 ships to demonstrate that humanity takes its obligations seriously. When our people call for help, we answer. We don't debate. We don't calculate the cost. We don't mock those in need. We act. Today you learned what happens when you mistake our patience for weakness. We are Doomworlders. That means we survive what would kill you. It means we adapt to conditions you find impossible. And it means we protect our own with a ferocity that comes from millions of years of evolution on a planet that taught us the cost of abandoning each other. The chamber was silent when she finished. Even the conservative faction had no immediate response to the passion and logic of her words. The Galactic Council deliberated for another day before issuing its verdict. High Commander Thexnor and the other alien commanders were found guilty of violating the Interstellar Distress Call Convention. They faced sanctions, fines, and removal from command. Their species would be required to issue formal apologies to Earth. More significantly, the Council formally recognized humanity's right to protect its citizens throughout known space. The restrictions placed on human expansion 20 years ago were removed. Humanity was granted full member status in the galactic community, with all rights and privileges that entailed. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it passed by a comfortable margin. The Doomworlder label remained, but its meaning had fundamentally changed. It was no longer an insult suggesting primitiveness. It had become a recognition of capability and strength. 6 months after the incident, the galaxy had adjusted to the new reality.